Welcome to Beyond Your Why podcast, where we go beyond just talking about your why and actually help you discover and then live your why. You see, we believe that knowing your why, that driving force behind every decision you make and every action you take, is the essential first step to really knowing yourself. It allows you to move forward faster and have a bigger impact. If you're already a fan of the show, then you know that every week we talk about one of the 9 whys, and then we introduce you to somebody with that why so you can see how their why is played out in their life. This show will be more powerful for you if you've already discovered your why. If you still need to do that, head over to whyinstitute.com and discover your why today. It'll only take you about 5 minutes. Now, let's meet today's guest. This week, we're going to be talking about the why of right way, to do things the right way. So if this is your why, then you believe that there's a proper and correct way to do things and that things should be done right. You see no point in skimping on details or cutting corners and believe that to achieve success, you must follow procedures that have been proven. You also prefer to use systems that have been developed, tested, and shown to work over time, and you have no problem making adjustments and corrections numerous times in order to produce the right outcomes. You know that if you create structures and processes that work, the right results will follow. So today, I've got a great guest for you. His name is Barry Garapedian. He is the president and CEO of MAG7 Consulting. It's a coaching and mentoring firm helping high school and college students reach their full potential. Before launching MAG7, Barry spent nearly 40 years as a managing director at Morgan Stanley, where he not only guided families in building wealth, but also helped their kids build confidence and character. Through MAG7, Barry brings that same passion to the next generation, teaching practical habits, mindset tools, and performance strategies that help young people succeed in every area of life. His energy is contagious, his wisdom is earned, and his impact is lasting. Barry, welcome to the podcast.
Great to be here, Gary. Looking forward to share some great ideas.
Well, let's do this. Let's let our audience get to know you. You know, I know you through the Genius Network, and we've had a lot of conversations, but let's go back in your life. You know, tell everybody, where were you born and what were you like growing up?
Well, let's see, I'm version 6.7. So in English, I'm 67 years young and a Southern California kid, went to school locally in Los Angeles, a major university, such as the same university that you went to, Gary. And I got involved in Wall Street in 1982. And I spent 39 years there with one company, a large wirehouse, and climbed very quickly. And
all right, hold on, Barry. We're not going to let you get that far along the path. We're going to go back to high school. Now we're in high school. What was the high school you went to? And now we're walking down the halls of that high school. Oh, and there's Barry over there. What would we have seen in Barry?
Well, I got best dressed in high school. So I got a huge award. That was a big deal back in, that was graduated high school in 1976, North Hollywood High School. And I was on the tennis team, played 4 years there, then went on to college and played tennis at college. So my life was really about tennis. And I was also very, very involved in entertainment. And I was a professional entertainer at a very young age in the world of magic. And so I did magic shows all over the country, specifically in close-up magic. And I got involved in the Magic Castle when I turned 21 years old as a sophomore in college. And magic has been a wonderful door opener for me. And it's been a wonderful hobby. It's also something that I really enjoy doing. I love seeing people's faces of astonishment.
So if you're listening and you can't see Barry, he's very, very well dressed, very, very well groomed every time you see him. And, you know, at all the different events that I see Barry, he could be voted best dressed there as well. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Now, what got you into magic? When did you first see it and think, man, that's something I really want to be involved with?
When I was a very young boy, I'd say about 8 years old, I'd drive my bicycle to the magic shop in North Hollywood, and I learned the standard tricks, cups and balls, and the normal tricks little kids learn. And then I started taking lessons at a very early age. And then I really started taking lessons. And I took lessons in many things. My parents were very, very good about investing in us as young kids because we started early taking piano lessons. I played the piano for 7 years. Went to a piano lesson every Friday at 3 o'clock, practice every day. So we learned structure and discipline really early in our life. And if it wasn't piano lessons, it was magic lessons. If it wasn't magic lessons, it was martial arts. My parents got us involved early in the art, and I'm a multiple black belt. So I think a lot of these structures learned early set me up for success later of having discipline, because discipline equals freedom.
Yeah. If you were to look back on your life as far back as you could probably go, was there a time that you realized that, or has it always been that way? Have you always been so structured as you are, which we're going to talk a little bit more about as we go along. But tell us, can you think back to, was there ever a time in your life where you weren't structured?
Both my parents were educators. They're both teachers. And really, besides them loving us unconditionally, the best lesson they gave us is they believed in us. So they gave us self-belief. So first of all, we had the I believe button very early, or at least I did. And I was raised in an entrepreneurial mindset. So I started working when I was probably 8 years old, watering lawns and invoicing the neighbors for $1.15, or washing cars, having my own car business, detailing cars. Then I gravitated into parking cars at a hotel. Then eventually had my own business teaching tennis. So I think the entrepreneurial mindset of being an entrepreneur started really early, and saving money. I was very money motivated to be a capitalist early, save for things. If I wanted something, I'd have to save for it. So it started with that mindset. And then in addition to that, as far as work ethic, on the weekends, we would always, I was always helping my dad around the yard. He would mow, I would mow, he would edge, he would do all kinds of, we had a pretty big property. So we did, Saturdays was always work around the property. So I think it was really about us not just having chores. These were things that were expected of us. We never had an allowance. Parents never gave us money like that. But they did invest in us in all these different ways of learning a skill. So when I say a skill, I learned tennis very early. When I was in early middle school, taking tennis lessons, learning the right grip, learning the proper protocols. And I think if I think of anything that's helpful is invest in learning the technique properly versus having a whole bunch of bad habits, such as golfers have a lot of bad habits. If you learn the proper grip, the swing, wow. Same thing in tennis, same thing in almost any sport. So I turned all the sports stuff and I repurposed that into a corporate executive. So all the things I was doing well in high school and college in sports, I repurposed it of, okay, if I could do it here, I can do it here. So the work ethic of making calls, and that's another whole story of how to make phone calls. And in the business that I was in on Wall Street, it was cold calls. So I sort of figured out a way to do it better than anybody. And that was something that propelled me to be number one in the country for 3 years as a rookie. I mean, as a rookie my first year, but then 3 years leading the country in new accounts. I figured out how to do it, but are other people willing to do what I did? So it's very, very cool.
So that's one of the things I want to get to in just a little bit is how a lot of us, if I were to put a theme on our call today, I would say, so many people know what to do. So few people actually do it. And you are the epitome of doing it. But I want to get to how, so we can tell that, at a very young age, you figured this out. Did you have to work, or did you realize you wanted to work? Did you have to have a job, or did you realize you wanted to have a job?
Oh, I wanted to have a job. I wanted to have a job as a capitalist. I was attracted to the nice things in life. And we lived a very middle-class life as teachers. And I saw affluence. I saw all the nice things that I wanted. So there was no way that was going to happen unless I would make it happen. So I figured out that I'm going to have to learn some skills. And, the great book, Grit by Angela Duckworth, she talks about grit. And she says, you could have all the smarty pants people in the world, but what 2x that is work ethic and grit and hard work. So those folks will outwork someone who's really smart. And so I felt like I wasn't necessarily the sharpest person in the room, but I really truly felt I could outwork people with work ethic. And that's exactly what I did.
So why did you decide, okay, you graduate from high school, off to USC. How did you pick USC, or did they pick you because of tennis, or how did that happen?
Well, my dad and my mom went there. So there was an alumni status. So I always wanted to go to SC. So that was a passion of mine. And I unfortunately wasn't good enough to make the top 6 in tennis. I was like 8 or 9. So I said, I'm going to put my focus into school. So in junior, as a senior, I really cracked the books, and that paid huge dividends because it got me into a springboard to get onto Wall Street and to really pursue a career that I was always very interested in getting into, which at that time I was very interested in sales and marketing. So I chose Wall Street for this one particular reason. Number one, I wanted to go into a non-cyclical business. And what I mean by that is if interest rates go up or down or whatever happens, markets go up and down, we know that. But in a wirehouse, there's many, many, many things I could promote and advocate or sell. So when markets go down, there's many things I could talk to clients about, bonds, alternatives. So in the worst markets, I was having my best years. Most other people were all tied to one sector, equities or stocks. I had many other sectors. So I sort of figured out many of my other friends that went into commercial real estate got hurt very badly because interest rates went down, everything stopped, frozen, nothing happened. Myself, on the other hand, I could do many, many things in a down market. So we knew the markets are cyclical. So I chose specifically a non-cyclical market, a non-cyclical business I could do in all weather. And I figured out a process and a strategy of how to do it. And I could share that with you because it's really, really amazing what I figured out in 1982, 1983. No one else was doing this.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So really what I did, the game back in the day was making cold calls, calling affluent people. At that time, we had what was called a Haynes reverse directory. We didn't have the technology. So we would find fancy streets with people would be affluent people on these streets. So what I did is in the evenings, we could call those lists. But during the day, who are you going to call during the day? So our office was in Universal Studios. So we were in the entertainment capital of the world. So I got in-house corporate directories, CBS, ABC, Disney, Paramount, Universal. And I found people working there, and I would give them currency. If they could give me an in-house corporate directory, I would call people at work. So during the day, I was calling people at these studios. They're wondering, how did I get there? And I got a hold of them. In the evenings, we're calling people at night. I hired 3 callers to be getting people on the phone for me at night. So I'm taking tons and tons of calls at night because I was calling 6:30 to 8:30, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights from 6:30 to 8:30 at night. So I'd call from 8 to noon, 2 to 5, 6:30 to 8:30, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for 5 years. And I have half days on Saturday, cold calling. In addition to the cold calling, I also had my wife at the time sending out 2,000 mass mailers a week to the surrounding area. We were getting about a 0.5% to 1% response with information they were interested in. In addition to that, we invested in a computer, at that time was legal, to make robocalls with my voice on it to 700 people a day. I was opening 40 to 50 accounts a month. Wow. I'm not exaggerating. Everyone said, what are you doing? And I was all around the country. I was a rookie. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? I would tell them, here's the reality. Most people didn't have the consistency or the discipline to do that. Try sending out 2,000 mass mailers a week. Might be fun the first week or two. How about week 12? when it really matters, because it's all about, frequency in marketing. It's going back every 6 weeks to that same person. It's the frequency. And I was able to sustain that kind of energy consistently for years. And it just paid huge dividends. So then on top of that, I found out what were the 12 most common objections I would receive on the phone. I was prepared for it. And so I knew how to present in a very quick pattern. And my pitch was on a municipal bond, which was, thank you for holding Mr. Sanchez. The reason for the call is to make you aware of a tax-free municipal bond that's paying 5.5%. It's federal and state exempt. I thought you might have an interest. That was my pitch. I did that probably close to, a few 100,000 times. Seriously, over decades, clearly the first 5 years. And anything they could say to me, I would be able to position. And my goal was to pre-qualify them if they had money. At that time, 40 years ago, I was pre-qualifying for $100,000. Would $100,000 pose a problem? And if they said, not a problem, then I would explain it. And then I would do a trial close. Let me explain to you the mechanics and how we acquire this. It's really quite simple. You need your address, name, birthday. Oh, by the way, what's your social security number? If they give me their social security number, I will open an account. I would open up more accounts on a first call. They'd have 5 days to pay for it. So I'm going to make a reservation for $150,000 of this bond portfolio. You have 5 days to pay for it. And I did a tremendous amount of business that way. Very bold, very aggressive, and it worked. Now, that doesn't work now. 40 years later, there's call restriction lists. People aren't making the calls. It's a different ballgame. Mass mailers maybe could work. I don't know. But that's what worked in the early 80s. But it was all about the structure, discipline, process. And I was very, very structured in process. I didn't focus so much on results. I knew if I did these activities in my day, I want to go home exhausted, where I would just go to bed, just motionless. And that was my goal every day, to be doing everything I could do. And I did. So the morning started at 5:30 in the morning. I was the first in the office. And, by 8 o'clock, we're making outgoing calls. The morning time was really prepping, because I'd actually write out all the phone numbers and names on call sheets, so I know exactly what I need to do. And yeah, actually, it was a lot of fun. I had more fun building it that way organically, because we didn't have anything. We didn't have any overhead. We didn't have kids. We didn't have any messes. It was really, really easy. Go work, make phone calls, close business, and did it for years. And it just kept on building and building and building. Before you know it, number one in my rookie class, top quarter 1%. Pretty much most of my career at a major wirehouse were 7,000-8,000 advisors. We're just trying to figure out, what are you doing? And that's what I was doing.
Wow. So what comes to mind for me, Barry, is what was going on in your head that allowed you to keep going, keep consistent, keep doing it when other people would quit? What was that inner conversation?
Well, I gamified it, Gary. I actually gamified it. I made goals, which is basically, goals are processes. If you read the book Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about, it's not about goals, it's about process and systems. I had a system where I had a dashboard, a digital dashboard, that these are basically metrics I needed to hit every week. So we had a goal of Barry making 150 phone calls a day. That was one activity. Barry had a metric of getting into the office at 5:30. Barry had a metric of sending out 10 hand notes a day. Barry had a metric of face-to-face meetings. I mean, I had these 10 or 15, I'd say about 8 to 15 metrics, and I'd say half of them were HLAs. An HLA, what I call, is a high leverage activity. I focus 2/3 of my day on HLAs. So everyone has high leverage activities. Let's define what are the things you really should be doing that's going to put the most money in your pocket. And that's what I did. So I also did something that no one else was doing. I also tracked and measured ask for the orders. Back in the day, we were in a transactional world. First three decades were transactional. So it's asking for business. blah, 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 blah. People can tell you all about the features and benefits, but do they really ask for the business? I measured asking for orders. I had a goal to ask for 10 orders a day. I was doing more business than most people in the country. And it's not that I was smarter or more talented. It came down to gamifying it, making it fun, sharing these things with other people, because I knew if I shared what I'm doing, it made me feel good, and maybe someone can get something from it. But I also knew it really takes someone really special to do what I'm doing, because I started at 7, 8 years old with discipline of practicing the piano, martial arts, magic. Magic is hundreds and hundreds of repetitions. Just as you as a doctor to do a procedure in someone's helping someone, it's many, 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 many repetitions. Same thing in magic. Then you have to do the magic trick. Then you have to put a story behind it to make it work. So those were things that set me up. And martial arts is another thing. Learning the kata forms and all the different moves it's choreography. So in my mind, I codified genius. I figured out from the top producers in the firm, this is what I really did. I actually called as a rookie. I found out the top 10 producers in my firm. And I said, listen, my name is Barry Garapedian. I hear you're one of the top producers of the firm. I would love to just come and just shadow you for 2 hours. You don't even need to acknowledge me. I'm going to sit in the corner and just watch you. You don't have to say anything to me. I did that in Miami, New York, St. Louis, Chicago. I think about 6 or 7 cities. I flew on my own dime. I took the best cultures of what they're doing, and I formulated my own culture. One example, a guy in New York, I'll never forget this. Back in the day, we have the computers on our desk, these big Bunker Ramos. He had his computer behind him. And I said, why do you have it behind him? He said, I don't want to give energy to the computer. I want to give energy to my clients on the phone, my phone and my desk. So I always had the computer behind me for 30 years. Never was in front of me. Things like that, little tidbits, and I created my own culture. Then I codified it of what they're doing. I then put choreography around it, the steps, just like a dance. And then I put this I call it core satellite of the things I needed to do. So those were the activities. What time I need to be in the office, hand notes. How do I want to present myself? Do I want to dress like a bum or do I want to dress professionally? So if I want to dress professionally, I need to hire a tailor. Okay, I learned this from Dan Sullivan back in Strategic Coach, that every 90 days I'd had a tailor come to the office and I'd pick cloth out and get a new suit every 90 days. So I had 4 new suits every year. New shirts, had my shoes made, had my belts made. I had most everything made with business. And so the way I presented myself was professionally, because I was running around a group that was older than me, that was more successful than me. So everyone said, well, you're a pretty young kid. Why would we give you money? He said, well, I'm going to work harder than anybody else. And I have one of the best firms behind me and give you the best research in the world. And oftentimes they would start me out. There might be 3 other senior brokers ahead of me. He has 4 advisors. I'm one of 4. And over time, I'd climb my way up and be the key person. Get your foot in the door. And then on top of that, back in the day, not even really realizing it, I always was creating value for other people. I had an instinct to help and to differentiate myself from other advisors. So I would always work with the family's children and help their kids. So that turned into family governance. That turned to a whole nother piece, which differentiated me than anybody else on Wall Street, because I had an interest in helping a kid with an interview or how to do this or how to do that, or show them a magic trick or help them with a speech or fitness. I was always doing something fitness wise, whether it was tennis or marathon running or Ironmans. So it was always very active. Yeah.
So I mentioned this to you when I saw you a couple weeks ago. You ought to sell a day with Barry, just because you do things that others talk about doing or say they're going to do, but you do it. And that is sounds so simple, but it's for whatever reason not. Like, what percentage of the population will actually do what they know they need to do or say they would do? In fact, didn't you also have
Yeah.
a driver that would drive you
Yeah,
around so
that's
you
right.
could work?
Yes, back, let's see, that was 1997 through 2001. So um, I decided to turn my drives into, and this I learned this from Strategic Coach, because Dan Sullivan was all about efficiency, and I took it to another level. So I bought a Lincoln Stretch town car, mid-sized town car, gorgeous, triple black. Remember, it cost me $67,000 back in '97, brand new. I found a driver, and the driver would drive in my house, park his car, and we had the limo in my driveway. And he would just like in the movies, I'd walk out of my house at 5 a.m. See, yeah, because I'd be in the office at 5:30. So walk out of the house with my briefcase. The guy would meet me at the door, hand him my briefcase. He'd have the car pointed outwards on the driveway. We're in a large estate, and the door's open. He helps me in the car. He has the Wall Street Journal, I swear to God, sitting, looking at me. And then on my way, it's about a 25-minute drive in from Malibu into Glendale, was where my office was. He'd drop me off right in front, and he'd run around, open the door. People, who is that guy? Then he'll run in the office. I give him a schedule of when to pick me up and different clients I need to go see. And many times we want to park around the corner because I don't want the clients to see a limo, or it'd be a little ostentatious. Who is that guy? So we were careful with it. But I did that for 4 years, and I would work in the car. At that time, we had paper statements, and my statements were this high. I'd always go through my client's statements, reviewing things on the phone. I turned that into really productive time. It cost me, at the time, it was costing me for the driver $3,000 a month, $750 a week. I remember that very well. So, yeah, I did that.
Okay, so is too much of a good thing no longer a good thing?
Yeah, you have to change it up, adapt, because things change. So I no longer have the limo. I got rid of that in '01. Yeah, I just think, for me, it was always looking, you're looking to, first, when you get to a point where money's no issue, then what? Then you say, okay, how much money do you need? How many more this or that's or whatever? So it gets to a point, at some point, maybe in the first 20 years of my career, it's a different ballgame. So the game changed. So now what do you want to do? Well, now I want to make it that in the universe help kids. And that's where I got into the family governance, creating family constitutions for families, writing and authoring their values. And then really reverse engineering and helping the young kids, the young minds, I call them young minds, where they're oftentimes not going to get the right mentorship. They might not be getting enough energy from their parents. Oftentimes their parents are very successful, and maybe one of the parents are narcissists, and the kid feels excluded or doesn't get along with the parent. So I saw lots of that. I saw lots of issues with drugs and alcohol and issues that are not good. So I would come in almost like an uncle and say, hey, I'm going to help out. Here's what I can do to help. Your kid has all these tools, but his EQ is really low. Let's help out with these, read the room and dressing appropriately and getting ready for this interview. So I did a lot of that, and still thoroughly enjoy that.
For our listeners, one of the things I want to say about Barry is what you just heard from Barry is not something that he shares or you would know, or he walks up and starts bragging about anything. I didn't know any of this for the longest time after we met and talked and whatnot. It's not something you go around talking about. It's that I forced you into this interview so that we could learn from you, but it's not like, something that's shared very much. And so I appreciate you going places that are not really what you talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into building an incredible lifestyle or lifestyle. I don't want to live a lifestyle life. So my days are usually packed with 8 to 10 meetings a day now. And Gary, when I met you, which is back in fall of 2023, a Genius event, that was the annual event. You gave me your card. You shared with me the why. And then 24 happened. And then we got to go to one of the events that you presented at. And then you came in April, May of 24. And then we did a private workshop for myself and Bob Castellini. And that's when things really took off in my consulting business.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah, because I think, and I wanted to wait until I could actually share successes with the WHY.os, because it's an active infrastructure of the business right now. So in simple terms,
hold on one second. How did you get? Because we haven't gotten there yet.
Mm-hmm.
So you were in the financial space for many years. Then you left that space years ago, and then now, kind of, what are you doing?
So in simple terms, during COVID, I sold the business about 3.5 years ago. Sold it to my partner. I am totally not involved in the business. I got bored about 6 to 9 months afterwards, and I said, there's more to this. I can only swim, cycle, tennis, ski so much, travel. It got to be a point where I was not fulfilled. So I said, what do I really want to do? I really want to work with the young minds. So at that point in April of 23, I hired a business consultant and I formulated MAG7. MAG7 stands for the Magnificent Seven, the 7 lessons you never learn in school. It's a consulting business specifically designed for the Gen Z market, which is ages 13 to 28, where I'm really acting as an expediter for them. I'm helping them get to where they want to be. That's simple. And it's many different things people want. So at that time, April of, this is 2023, I started, my revenues were $80,000 for that year, from April to December, $80,000. From 2024, my revenues for the whole year were $310,000. And I started in earnest working with you, Gary, in June. I started doing my WHY.os in June of 24, which is part of the protocol. The business went in 25. This year, it's going to be over 7 figures, over $1 million. Now, let me tell you what I'm doing. Very few people are doing. And I think that this is an absolute game changer, is how to use the WHY.os, how I'm using it. So in many cases, I get introduced to a parent, and the parent wants me to talk to their kid. So if not, before I talk to the kid, I'm going to send the WHY.os out on my phone. So the kids will do it on their phone, which is really easy to do, or I can do it on the computer. Most of the time I do it over the phone. And oftentimes before or soon after I talk to the kid, I will have their WHY.os in front of me. And then I oftentimes talk to the parent and I say, listen, your son took this 8-minute discovery on what their why is, which explains their purpose, how, and what. Here's your kid. And I read the analysis. And says, that's amazing. How do you know that? I said, well, I'm licensed in this. There's a doctor who took this to the next level under Simon Sinek, and he perfected this process. It's the best process on the street. And it gives me a big clue of how to communicate and work with your son or daughter. And so one, it differentiates me already before we even made any agreement. No one's agreed to work with me. It differentiates me that I'm offering value already. So I'm creating value as a value connector, value creator of something they might not have known or think, that's so right. It's so true. He's challenging. He's clarifying. He thinks outside the box, doesn't clearly inside. I can go on these whole things. Here's the great news about this. Here's how we deal with this. So one, it definitely positions me for the business to close the business. So from a monetization perspective, I've already scored points. So think of it of a team playing away in a football game. You oftentimes give points away. I've instantly given myself 4 to 5 points immediately because I have this tool. Now, how I use it is I'm not frugal with it. Anyone, anywhere I go, I will offer them. They want to know what I'm doing. Hey, one of the processes that I have is I put people through a formal discovery, but we do a mini informal discovery that only takes 8 minutes. So you'll have a formal discovery for an hour, but I have a little 8-minute discovery that will get me to figure out who you really are. Do you want to know who you really are? Yeah. Here, I'm going to send it to you. Take it. And we're going to have some fun with it. Show it to people. So one, it's a very small amount of money to differentiate yourself in the world where everything is fast, quicker, AI, this, that, whatever. For someone to take the time and really dig into really what matters, it's refreshing. It's refreshing. And guess what? It positions me in a position, a power position. I tell people, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to help someone from smoking pot or drinking alcohol or vaping. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that can help you get in the fast lane, stay in the fast lane and get you there. But we really need to know how you tick. And that's exactly what the WHY.os has done for this business that had nothing 2 years ago when I met you. And now legitimately, I could actually say to you, I have 46 clients paying me north of $20,000 a year. And that wasn't the case November of 23. It is the case here. It will be November 25, be 24 months. So, and that was serendipitous because I saw you speak at Elite Wealth Advisor Symposium with Brian Sweet. You hit the ball out of the park. Phenomenal. I then committed to get licensed, which is the first step, so you can use this collateral. And the collateral is so easy to use. You made it so easy for us. It's unbelievably easy to use.
And do you remember what you did right after you got started?
Yeah, I forgot. Well, this is a strategy that I think is a great strategy. I told Gary after he went through the presentation, I'm so convinced I'm going to do this. I wrote Gary a check for a few $1,000s or something like that. I can't remember. So I wrote him on a check that I am going to do 20 connections a month for the next 6 months. And it's easy. It's easy to do but you can't get caught in this frugality. Oh, I'm spending money on this. I say, you are never going to get anywhere if you have that mindset. It takes money to make money. So as a business, to make the investment as a licensee, to pay for the collateral, go for the process, buying these credits every month, it's part of a business. And it's absolutely necessary.
So you gave me a check. I wrote me a check and I stuck it in my wallet. And you said, if I don't do what I said I was going to do, I want you to donate that or give that to the political party I hate the most.
Yes.
You didn't tell me which one it was,
yeah,
but you just said whichever one I hate the most.
So,
and I didn't need to use it.
So the reality is, I was sold that this would work. I loved it because it was simple. It made sense. And I'm using it pretty much every day when I talk to people, send it out, get it back. It's a talking point. And then what I also do is I create a mind map for a client of everything about them and then deliverables on another mind map. In the mind map, I then take the why, how, and what. I cut and paste the information on the mind map. It's already triggered out. It's easy. So it makes me look so much better, but it's a tool that helps people figure out, that's why they tick. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. I had basically a rocket scientist and a doctor figured out. So,
if I'm listening now, I would like to know, if I'm listening to you and I talk, I would want to know. So Barry, what are you doing with these kids? What do you mean you're like the MAG7? What are those 7 things? And then what do you do with these kids? I would love to know that.
So we have what we call 16 attributes of a high performer. And the first foundation, there's what's called foundation skills. There's 4 of them. So it's performance habits, high performance habits, leadership and development. It's the books you read, people you meet, and it's networking. That's the first foundational skills. Now you're saying, well, gosh, books you read, people you meet. Many kids don't like to read, right? Maybe they'll listen to Audible. I've got a new strategy for the kids. You're going to love this. It's I have kids 25 books a quarter. What they're going to do is they're going to go on ChatGPT. Let's say the book is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. He's the guy who built Nike. I'm going to ask the kid to ask Chat, give me the 5 biggest narratives of the book and the 5 best epiphanies from the book. Print it out. You put it in a notebook. We're going to cherry pick 2 books a month to actually read. So we start with a little sparkle tease of the chat so you know what it's about. And if you're not going to read it, you're going to do the audible. These kids are going to read 25 books a year. So that's an example of foundational skills. Then we go into resiliency skills. The next are fail forward, getting outside your comfort zone, building even more confidence, and building even more self-esteem. Those are resiliency skills. Then we gravitate into goal achievement skills. So it's goal setting, social EQ, dress for success, and grit and determination. Then the last 4 basically are influence and communication skills. It's the ability to persuade, speaking and listening skills, the art of connection, and becoming more self-disciplined. Those are 16 attributes of a high performer. We can't do all of them. We will cherry pick 7 of them in a year. These take years, what I just shared with you. We'll cherry pick 7 and focus maybe on one of their blind spots. So many blind spots typically are self-esteem issues, really low self-esteem. Well, how do you build self-esteem? I know how to do that. You need accomplishments. We need to build wins up, and we're going to figure out how to do that. We need to build your I believe button. So there's a whole strategy on that. So I talk every week with the kid for 30 minutes. Every week for 30 minutes. So I'm busy.
Heck yeah. So how did you learn all this? Where did this come from?
I learned it on the street. I invested a lot of money with myself, with mentors and coaches personally. I was also a top performer within the firm. I was around some of the best, smartest people for 35, 40 years. I was around the elites for decades. And I codified it. I really did. I codified it. The trick now is having the kids implement it, which you have to do with small micro steps. And the mindset, it starts with a mindset that, look, your mindset is going to be relentlessly useful. You're going to be a value creator. You're going to create value for other people. So it starts with that mindset, because schools aren't going to teach this stuff. Schools don't teach you how to be extraordinary. They don't teach you how to be great. Mentors do, coaches do, parents do. That's where I learned it. I didn't learn this stuff in school. I really didn't. So I learned it from some of the best people in the world, and I codified it. I actually put code around it. I came up with 16 attributes. And if a kid spends a week with a time with me for a year, they're going to be in a different place for sure in a year. If they want to put the work, if they're committed. If they're not committed, nothing's going to happen. Because nothing happens until after you commit.
Give everybody the example that I always like about just writing a thank you note.
Oh, boy. Such a basic, wonderful, that comes under the art of connection, where I get kids to learn how to write a note. So we get them squared away with a stationery, monogram, thick stock. I teach them how to drip wax and put their seal on it. Then on the front of the envelope, you have a normal stamp. Then I get them vintage stamps to put near the stamp, and then a return stamp like this. I have 15 different themes depending on what they're interested in. So this is for an equestrian. Here's someone for golf. Okay. Here's someone for skiing. Someone likes to ski. So I have 15 different themes on return stamps. So knowing you, I would figure out what your themes are, have a return stamp. Then I open up the note the note would be all about the other person. Teach them how to write a note. And it's always about empowering the other person. So if I was playing golf with someone, I would say, boy, Bill, it was great seeing you the other day. I'll never forget the 5th hole, your second shot into the green, 18 inches from the pin. I'll never forget that, Bill. Thank you so much for coming. I can't wait to see you again. That's what goes into a note. I teach them how to write. So we might have a goal to write 2 handwritten notes a week. They weren't writing anything. They would never even think of writing a note. When you meet someone, you're gonna send them a note. What do you mean send them a note? How do you get their address? I teach them how to get their address. A professor did a great lecture, networking event. Hand notes are hard to do because they take time. We're living in a world of faster, quicker, more efficiency. The people who take the time and figure out how to use AI and use people skills are going to get there quicker and faster. So that's one of the things under the art of connection. Big advocate of.
The attention to detail in every aspect of everything that you do is, to me, the separator, right? You have the discipline, you have the plan, you execute the plan, but you execute it to a level that is rarely seen. And that's why I say another product is just follow Barry for a day, kind of like you did for those 5 guys originally.
And there's no right or wrong. I mean, I think it starts with enthusiasm. You know, I was very inspired by a basketball coach, Jim Valvano, back in 1983 when they won the national championship in 1983. They came back from nowhere to win the whole thing. And I studied him. I patterned my business after him. He was always very enthusiastic. He always started a meeting with, where were you? Where are you now? Where do you want to be? How are you going to get there? What 3 things in your day, if you could do every day, if you can laugh, cry, and have thought. I patterned myself of people who inspired me. So I built a virtual advisory council. They didn't know me. I never met Jim Valvano or John Wooden, but they were my virtual advisory council. And I took best practices from these folks, just like I'm taking the elements of 25 books every quarter. Who's actually doing this? How about very few people? I could quote things out of, Grit, Angela Duckworth, or even Whitney Jones, When Broken. I've got lots of Genius Network books in here. Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins. You start reviewing stuff like this, every couple of days, you're going to get better. There's so many wonderful books and then the people you meet. So I think being a student, how to get better. Again, I'm version 6.7. I'm 67 years young, and I want to give this wisdom to other young minds and help other young minds get to where they want to be. And, ROI, we think of ROI as return on investment, but really ROI is in other words, return on impact. How can I impact someone, a team? And so you do that by connecting with them and then figuring out what has to be done. And oftentimes it's a very simple model. It's usually clarity. What's the clarity? Focus, and then execution. Clarity, focus, execution. Execution is implementation. So if you don't have the clarity, you don't have the goals, you don't have the systems, you're not going to get anywhere. So I always had clarity. So that's why I had systems and I had protocols. I knew if I focused on those activities, it would equal a result. I never focused on, I need to do X. No, it was never a number. It was always, did I hit my activity numbers? Like I didn't say, I needed to find X amount of millions of dollars. It's like, if I did the activities, it would equal a result. Still to this day, I didn't really think $1 million was even possible in 23 or 24 with this consulting thing. But I never thought. I knew if I did the activities, and it just started taking off, and I hired people. I hired AI kids. I also hired my Gen Z kids that know the market, that are they're incredible. They're like, you can do everything that I can't do as far as technology. So I think gamifying it, having fun, having a radical self-belief in myself that I know I can help someone. And if someone's not interested in getting help, that's fine. They're just not ready. And I just move on. I call it bless and release. Move on.
We could talk for another 2 hours and still not get everything in I want to talk about. But, Barry, I know we're kind of hitting our limit here. But I would love for you to, people are listening and they're saying, man, I want to connect with Barry. I would love to have him work with me or my kids or somebody I know. What's the best way? First of all, tell everybody, who exactly are you looking for? And then how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, my sweet spot is working with kids between the ages of 13 and 28 years old. So that would be the market that I'm specializing in. And the best way to reach me is you can just call me on my phone, which is 818-427-6109, or you could reach me at barry@mag7consultants.com. And I will tell you that at some point, probably in the next 6 months, we're going to cap off my individual people I'm working with. We'll probably do more group dynamics and scale, because I'm handling right now about 40 individuals right now. I have room for another 20, but I'm also working weekends, which I find I can work 4 or 5 hours a day. I don't have a problem having 4, 5, 6 meetings on a Sunday. What else am I going to do? Kids are out of the house. I played tennis today for an hour. I swam. I do all this stuff. I have plenty of time, but that's the advantage of getting up early. So I must tell everybody, I do get up very, very early in the morning, Pacific Coast. So I'm up at 4:15 in the morning, and I do all my protocols. So I have plenty of time. I'm living the lifestyle that I have dreamed about. And yes, I do have a vision board. I think it goes right back to old school goals and visions. My vision board's on the phone right here. And I keep things right like that. That's my vision board on my phone. Every kid has their vision board on their phone, on their wallpaper, so they know where they need to be.
Wow. Here's what I was going to say. When you call or talk to Barry, the first question I want you to ask Barry, and I don't want you to say it now, you started to, is have Barry tell you about what a typical day is like for him. But I know you started to go into that, but I don't want you to say it yet. I want them to, whoever wants to work with you, call you and do that, because it's fascinating. And it's, again, what some people talk about, but very few people do.
And Gary, I'm having more fun now. I had a lot of fun on Wall Street. I really did. I'm having as much fun as I was on Wall Street. I'm really enjoying my journey. I really am. And I get a lot out of talking and helping people. So if I can help anybody, and I'll be happy to chat with you.
I love it. Barry, thank you so much for being here today. I've been looking forward to this, been trying to get you on here, and now we did it. And so Thanks for being here and sharing your wisdom and your journey with everybody.
My pleasure, Gary. Thank you for everything you've done for me as well.
I really hope you enjoyed today's episode, and that through today's guest, you heard how important it is to know your why and how impactful it can be in your life and the lives of those around you. Be sure to head over to WHY.institute.com and discover your why today. Remember, the more you know about yourself, the more you'll know about others. I'm Dr. Gary Sanchez, and I'll see you on the next episode.